I suppose yours is a name that I'm not too sure many had on their trade bingo card, given you only re-signed on a long deal last year up at the Gold Coast. How has this come about, if you can set the scene for us a little bit?
Yeah, it all sort of happened pretty quickly last week, but stoked to be getting back home with family and friends, and probably just a new opportunity. And I was probably getting a little bit stale towards the back end of my career up here, so good to get back into Melbourne, that's for sure.
So, yeah, I was going to say it did unfold quickly from the outside looking in, and you're saying that for yourself. So what was said in your exit meeting? Because, as I said, you recommitted until 2028 on that deal last year. And was it the seed planted in your exit meeting, or did it come after that?
Not really. I think it was mostly just through talks with my manager, Robbie D'Orazio, and also with my partner at home. And I think it's just the best opportunity going forward for us to get back to Melbourne. And, stoked to be on board at the Blues.
Were you disappointed how it ends?
Not particularly. I think I'm more disappointed in the fact that I didn't get to finish unfinished business, if that makes sense. But, stoked to be down at the Blues, that's for sure.
So when you say that, it feels like an exciting time at the footy club. But to hear your words that you got a little bit stale up there, why do you think that was? Just more homesickness than anything?
Definitely not homesickness. I spent the last 9 years up here, relishing the opportunity up here. And I think over the last couple of years, definitely loved my time under Dimmer. But it was probably just time for a new scenery. And, stoked to be down there now.
Is it the role as much as anything, Ben? Like, would you like to be playing the game in a different role, and was Carlton able to sell that to you?
I think so. I think I see myself as a player that gets up and down the ground and has an impact up the ground, and then gets back and kicks goals and sets them up. So I think, Carlton have expressed that. That's the way they want me to play, and I can't wait for that.
Busy with phone calls.
Busy with trades.
Yep.
And one's gone through, Cal.
Yeah. How's this for a trade? This will be a trade we remember, I reckon. We're just speaking out the back about some of these trades that go for some funny numbers.
Yeah.
And Will Brodie has been traded to Port Adelaide from Fremantle for pick 103. So that doesn't show up on the order at the minute, but it's there because it's an open list spot for Port Adelaide. So it exists. Now, this goes through for them. They get him on a 2-year deal. And what it does for Fremantle is that they won't use that selection, but it will be but the list spot will open up for pick 47. So then it'll allow them to use pick 47 and also the salary cap relief. So that's the reasoning behind it from a Fremantle point of view.
Okay.
Even though the pick will come in, like 103 will probably end up being 60 on draft night if it's available and activated to be an open pick.
Because of all the passes.
But at this stage, the Dockers won't be using that pick, but they do the deal so that it opens up the list spot for pick 47, which is the better pick, and the salary cap as well, given he had a year to run on his contract. So that's where that one sits. And
some big news out of Brisbane as well.
Yes. Where am I? Yes, there is some big news out of Brisbane. So just revealed before that two-time Norm Smith medalist Will Ashcroft is on the verge of a big new deal with Brisbane. Young gun is set to sign a 4-year extension through to the end of 2030 when he hits his free agency. So he was due to come out of the contract at the end of next year, the end of 2026. Yep. So Brisbane, as they often do, they move fast, they move quick, they move aggressively. And this one has been in talks throughout the year, but can say today that it's on the verge of happening. The young superstar from the Lions, what a career he's packing in already. Mm-hmm. He's heading into next year with a contract likely all done. So through to free agency in 2030 and geez, that's going to be a massive deal whenever and wherever and whoever throws some big offers at him in 2030. And this is where the challenge has been for Sydney. Whilst they want Charlie Curnow, they don't want to disrupt a culture and a group that's pretty tight. So Ollie Florent hasn't wanted to leave Sydney. He's been told to look. And when you're told to look, that's told to go.
Yeah.
But he's got 4 years left on his contract, and he hasn't wanted to go. Now, what I can say today is that he's coming around to the idea of moving, and that's bit by bit. And we've been saying for a while that Carlton had interest in Ollie Florent separate to the Charlie Curnow chase for a while now.
Yep.
And that has still existed. So there is a world where Ollie Florent can be on the move separate to Sydney getting Charlie Curnow, and it can be separate to that deal. But he's coming around to that potential as time passes. And it's a challenge in this time because he's overseas, players are overseas, getting a hold of them, time differences. I think he's been in South America. So that's a difficulty, and other clubs as well as part of their interest in Ollie Florent. But that is starting to turn a little bit, and it still will be up to him because he's got the contract. He can back himself into stay, and we've seen players do that over time. But that looks like bit by bit it could be edging towards that. Will Hayward has been reluctant too. So he's contracted for 4 more years, signed a 5-year deal like Ollie Florent did last year as free agent. He's got links in Victoria. Carlton came for him really hard last year, and he considered that strongly. But yeah, he's been reluctant to move. So this is the challenge for Sydney, and it's why, in some part, they haven't put a firm offer to Carlton for Charlie Curnow like Geelong did last week.
It's a difficult balancing act for the Swans to juggle. You want Charlie Curnow, you don't want to disrupt a list that, for the most part, has been in a good spot and challenging for the best part of a decade now. So how you actually go about persuading players to be part of this is going to be an interesting one and a difficult one for them. I think Carlton's obvious preference in this is for forward half players. I think that's what they've wanted for some time to bolster their list, particularly if they are losing one in Charlie Curnow. Will Hayward fits that bill, but whether or not he'd be willing to consider it is another question altogether. It's interesting on the Florent case that if Sydney were to sort of try to move their F1 and their F2, they'd need to gather another pick in the future to be able to do that as part of the Curnow deal, which might be why they've told Ollie Florent to explore his options elsewhere. But yeah, as things stand, not much movement on the Charlie Curnow situation across the weekend.
The good thing from a Swans perspective is that none of their players want to go. So that says something about the club and how tight it is, but it does make it challenged in actually attracting a huge name like Charlie Curnow to the football club.
It's a similar situation to what Geelong finds itself in the sense that they're almost a victim of their own success when trying to poach really good players from other clubs, because while both the Cats and the Swans would love to add Charlie Curnow, they've also built a culture and a group of players good enough where not many are willing to be part of that going the other way. So that's the difficulty to for that deal as things stand. But I think both clubs have been doing their work across the last 48 hours, but just whether or not they've been able to make any movement in it is the other question. What about Zach Merrett? It looms as a pretty pivotal next 24 hours in terms of his hopes of getting to Hawthorn, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And Monday being today is the huge tipping point, isn't it? It's definitely go time on how hard do you want to push and what that looks like. There still hasn't been an official trade request. So an interesting angle to this that I've discovered as well is that the Hawks have been looking at whether they, and this is among a multitude of options for them, they've sort of thrown up. And obviously the conduit between the clubs is clearly Tom Petro, the agent of Zach Merrett. But one of the options they have thrown up to a number of other clubs is, could they sell pick 9 for a future first? And would that be more appealing to the Bombers?
Two future ones.
Yeah, 2 future ones and something else, I think, would be part of it. Because next year, well, are they satisfied enough with 2 top 10 picks this year? Essendon, who knows? And then there's next year, well, there's free agents. There's a free agent that's probably going to be matched if he goes. Is next year got more value to do that? It's probably a better draft next year, a year out. So that's potentially part of it. So that's something they've looked at as well. Do they look at, and we saw last year they left the bomb on the trade period, didn't they, when they made that move with the pick swap that really forced the hand of West Coast. Now, this is a little bit different, but it is something that I've explored, but they've done a lot of exploring. So their hand is still pick 9, the future first, and what it looks like beyond that. I still think it's going to be really hard to rip Zach Merrett out for anything less than 2 first-round picks, and yeah, that's still to come. But there's a short runway now. Yeah. In terms of the real wheeling and dealing. Take us inside this past 12 months, Dukes, because it's been a massive talking point over West around what his future held and what he was going to do. Take us inside the camp on how it's been.
Yeah, it's been definitely a tough decision. As mentioned, like he did support West Coast. He's always wanted to captain the club. He's got a lot of respect for the players and the club and the administration, and really felt it was a tough call to make. And being a free agent, obviously, as you boys know, you get put in 8 years of service to the club, and you've also got that option there when you get to free agency to explore and to look around. And that encourages obviously movement, player movement, and it makes it a little bit easier to explore your options at that period. So Oscar was, open to looking at a change. I suppose that the big thing for him was where would suit him best. He's getting married in 2 months to his fiancée Lorna, and obviously Brisbane being in a flag window and the opportunities up there and new coach and everything like that. There's some really positives for him. So ultimately, Brisbane had the best deal, and that worked out well for Oz in the end. And I think it's great. Matt Clark's done a good job too to land pick 2 for the club and put them in a really strong position with a good draft hand.
And the other element to the Lions is that their interest has been consistent and long. Like we reported in January that they'd already spoken to him as early as that, maybe even earlier. How did it come about with the Brisbane sell and the pitch, and how sustained was that across the 12 months?
So the list manager, Dom Ambrosio, gave me a call after Joe Danaher retired, and they were really looking for that replacement, that Joe Danaher replacement. Joe had some injury concerns, slight ones when he got there, and really performed well and won a premiership. So Dom had, strong interest from the club, and we kept in communication for most of the year, and it just kept evolving from there.
Let's talk about Christian Petracca, Kel. He's requested a move to Gold Coast. This one is probably destined to go deep into Wednesday night's deadline, but there's confidence on both sides that a move will still get done for Christian Petracca.
Yeah, it probably is, but I can't see why. Like, I think if the Demons can get pick 7 and 8 in exchange for Petracca and then swap around 1 or 2 later selections to go back to the Suns, I think it's a good deal for both parties. Petracca goes to the Suns, and the Demons would be able to land those 2 top 10 picks. That'd be the 3rd year in a row with 2 first-round selections and 2 top 15 selections. So I think there's considerable benefit in getting these young players to build up together, and I'd back in the Demons to be picking pretty good players around that point as well. So I think that's a good result. Look, Bailey Humphrey is not up for trade as much as Melbourne would wish he is, and other clubs as well. I don't think you necessarily have to have a player involved in this for it to be a good deal. And if you can get 2 top 10 picks at that point of the draft, you're going to be finding some good things. But as you say, this is a big name. He's a big player, and it's a big deal. So there's going to be some things that really come into sort of sealing the fate of Petracca.
Is the haggling here around what picks Melbourne would give back? They got 24, 28, 42.
Well, they kind of have to find the points that match up to be about pick 8. And the new system makes it more difficult to do that. Like the 20s is the new... The 20s is the new 30s. Like the 20s used to be an area of the draft that was laden in points.
Yep.
But they used to go through to the 30s. So the 30s used to be a points haven for clubs trying to find their points. And that's why Ashcroft was matched with, picks in the 30s. Now it has to be the 20s. So that's where Gold Coast is going to be proactive in getting as many picks in that range. And that's why Melbourne with 24 and 28 and what they can swing around to do there would be a pretty good result. I just thought the fate of Petracca sounds like a Taylor Swift song, actually. We're in our trade era. I want some suggestions on the text line of trade songs that are related to some of the Taylor Swift moments.
What about Jai Simpkin? Collingwood's held an interest in Simpkin. It feels like the asking price that the Kangas are going to put on their captain, who has 4 years remaining on his contract, is going to be too high for the Pies to go there as things stand. He also hasn't requested a trade. I think this is very similar to the Zach Merrett one in the sense that I think North Melbourne's initial starting point might be, well, show us how much you actually do want to leave before we even consider what the Pies would be willing to offer.
Yeah, and I don't think it's just about midfield role as was sort of first described. So I think there's more to it than that. So in terms of just chasing, having a look at some success elsewhere as well. It's been a long haul for players who've been there 8-9 years at North Melbourne. So that's part of it. But also, he needs to find a home that's willing to pay for him and they could pay up. So as you mentioned and wrote yesterday, 2 first rounders, or can that be packaged up to be an earlier pick?
Yeah.
And what's the earlier pick range that's going to be high enough to make North Melbourne actually be comfortable with it?
I think a very good first round pick, and not just any sort of pick 8, here's pick 18, but a very good first round pick might get North Melbourne to consider it. I know the public standpoint has been 2 first rounders, but I think a very good one might move the needle a little bit. But again, North Melbourne, I think, would need for him to officially request a trade as well before they'd consider it. So that's where it stands with Jai Simpkin.